This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie Lovers, and welcome to a very special spotlight session here on Bad Movies We Love, where we don't just talk about the movies, we talk to the people who make them. I've really enjoyed doing this interview series, and I've been very fortunate to talk to a lot of interesting people, and in this Filmmaker in Focus episode, I was joined by writer-director Alex Kugleman to talk about what it means to be a fully independent production in the modern film landscape, the challenges of working through multiple strikes and finding distribution, and what he learned from making short films that he brought with him to his first feature film, Don't Trip. We talk about all that and more, so kick back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Well, we have a very special guest in the house today. I'm joined by director Alex Kugleman. Welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Nick. This is very exciting. It's an honor to be on the pod, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here. You know, when you initially emailed me, it kind of like ended up in a place where I didn't expect it. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe let's work this into something else and let's have a full-fledged conversation about your movie, because I had developed, you know, the spotlight sessions for filmmakers to do exactly that. And I know a lot of the people that listen to this sort of tune in for when I talk about, you know, shitty horror movie sequels or something like that. But part of what I wanted to do was go behind the curtain and actually like talk to filmmakers who are in the process of either like working on films, crowdfunding their films, getting films distributed. And you've done all of those things to this point, and your movie is actively out right now. And we're going to talk about Don't Trip in a lot more detail. But before we do, I want to ask you a little bit about where you got your start in filmmaking and when that was.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a journey. I was definitely a writer first. I always wanted to direct. It was sort of like a pipe dream where I was just very scared of doing it. I was scared of touching a camera, and like that's like I understood screenwriting. I've been writing scripts since I was 15 years old. So it's just been something that I have always wanted to do. And then I moved to LA in 2015, and I started like, you know, making shorts with friends and doing like stupid sketch comedy shit and filming stuff on a phone. And then that evolved. And then I started working on productions more and sort of like as a PA, and started understanding like what a set actually is and like what it means to like actually make something in the formal way of making an actual short or a feature. And I kind of learned from the bottom there. And then I made a couple short films and was trying to really go the Hollywood route of I was an assistant for a while, and I worked for some great people. And, you know, I read a lot of stories about people who would write a spec screenplay and they'd send it to their boss, and their boss would send it to the head of Warner Brothers, and there'd be a bidding war by that afternoon. And I was like, you know, very young and naive. And I was like, okay, great. That's my plan. That's what's going to happen to me. And, that spoiler that didn't happen. I wrote a lot of scripts, and I got good feedback, and they sent them along, but it just kind of like died on the vine. And I kind of realized that things are evolving, and the only way to really get my movie made was to make it myself. No one was ever going to like knock down my door and like beg me to make a movie. I don't think anyone's asking anyone ever to begging them to make a movie unless they're Christopher Nolan or someone who has a proven track record of making $1 billion. So yeah, I had to like write it myself and crowdfund it and just do the whole thing, you know?
When I watched the film, I got this sense of this notion of sort of like, I just sort of put it in my notes as inside baseball. Like,
Sure,
there's industry specific stuff. And so it felt to me like the script was coming from a place of someone who had been through the processes of a lot of the stuff that our lead character Dev is going through. Yeah. And so I guess my obvious follow-up question would be like, Dev seems to be modeled after your own experience then?
Sort of. I
A little
mean,
bit?
not like verbatim, but
Yeah.
like, you
Well, I
know,
would hope not.
I never worked at an agency. Like I have a lot of I was around that world. I have a lot of friends, and it's kind of taken from like all of these different stories that I've heard, and just like an amalgamation of the last like 10 years. And there obviously are some, you know, inspirations, but like uh yeah, I mean, it's a movie about a screenwriter, so obviously
Yeah.
there's some parallels there.
Well, yeah, I was kind of like wondering to myself, like for me who grew up like sort of near and around the industry, a
Yeah.
lot of the dialogue and a lot of the choices in the script I think are just like super familiar to me, but I don't know
Mm.
if that is the same for everybody or just maybe like movie fans who kind of like know the motions that someone has to go through to get something made. But you had talked a little bit too about your short films, and
Mm.
if the years are correct, it
Mm.
was 2018 that you did The Last Ripe Haas.
Yeah.
And I did get a chance to watch that one, and I tried to
Oh,
watch
thank you.
the Bachelor, but
Oh
that
god.
that link on the website wasn't working, and I couldn't find it anywhere else. So I only got to watch the first one.
Got it.
So I'll talk to you a little bit about that too. But can you speak to the production processes of making a short and then sort of the difference between working on the short films and then developing something that's feature length?
Sure. So that short film that you mentioned was something I co-directed with my producing partner. His name's Trevor Rothman. He's like my best friend. He's a brilliant producer. He has been nominated for Emmys and Peabodys and the sort of the television space, and I'm very, very lucky to have him. And he, you know, sort of like took the reins and sort of like launching us into a production. Like my experience was purely as a screenwriter at that point. Like I just know or knew or thought I knew how to write something. So it was a lot of, and I was just very naive, and that whole process was film school for me, because that was like,
Mm.
we're gonna do it real. We're gonna get a snow machine and a crane, and we're gonna do, you know, like we wanted to do it right, and when we did, and it was legit. And I think that's a lot of like, you know, people who make shorts. I run into that a lot, where they're like, and it's about a man who rides a horse through the city, and we're gonna get a horse. And I'm like, okay, like good luck getting a horse for your short film. Like it's just like, yeah, no one gives a fuck if you have a short and a horse in your fucking short film. Like it doesn't. I don't know. I get it. I get that impulse where it's like you need to, like, you have something to prove, that it's like we're not just gonna make something that it's like three kids like in an apartment like doing like a sketch comedy thing. Like I understand that impulse, but and that's kind of like what I, you know, wanted to do here, where it was a very ambitious short. It takes place in the future. It's sci-fi. It's snowing out.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's a car that's beaten up, and you know, there's a shootout. There's all these things that are, it's like, it was very much like I just like, you kind of had to get it out of your system. And that's almost how I feel about Don't Trip, where I'm like, I look back on it, I'm like, would I make a movie? I would never make a movie again about like Hollywood, or maybe I would. I don't know. It's just like something that like I felt like I had to like get out of my system. And then I made another short after that. So I made that one I made the avocado one, The Last Right Pass, in 2018. And then I made another short a couple of years after that. And that one I just solo directed. And I kind of wanted to like pare back, where I was like, I don't need, you know, a truck. I don't need a crane. Like I just like really want to just like get down to like bare basics. And like, I think aesthetically the short might have suffered, and was probably didn't look as great as the one, because like we went from like, we got like a cheaper camera and a smaller crew and all these things, but like the learning process of me just like going solo and just like failing there, like I learned so much about like how to actually do this. And like I think that's a very, very, very necessary part of the process. It's like, it's just kind of like unfortunate for young people, where it's like, you know, I think there's a lot of like great filmmakers who I think people just assume that they were just born great filmmakers, when in reality they probably had to make 10 or 12 like shitty short films, or or even feature films that no one's heard of and no one's seen. I know, you know, there's the famous story of Tarantino, where he made a whole feature in like 89 that he completely scrapped, and like filmed it and finished it and then like burned it, because he's like, I don't want anyone to ever see this. Where now it's like, you make something as soon as you finish it, it's like you hit upload and try to get a billion eyeballs on it, and it's like, and then you have 10,000 people on Reddit being like, you didn't color grade it the right way, like all this bullshit. And it's not like it's just, it's kind of unfortunate where you're so like defined by your work so early. I mean, not really, no one really cares. It's like you could redefine yourself constantly, and like that's what I'm learning, where it's like no one actually gives a shit. Like to you it's like, I made a short film, it's like literally the biggest deal in the world. And like to you, because it's hard, you have to raise money, you have to get locations, you have to do everything solo, especially when you're dealing with such limited budgets. Even if the budget goes bigger, you're still doing a lot of it on your own. So yeah, it was very sort of like the feature was then sort of a hybrid of how we did the first short and how I did the second short, where I was like very scrappy about things, but then also for the machine to function properly, we had to, there had to be order. We needed a first AD. We needed, teams. We needed all these teams of people, and it's very necessary to do these things so things don't fall through the cracks, and so that you can actually focus on the creative, which is the goal.
Well, since you mentioned Reddit, I was going to sort of save this question for later, but I think it's a good
Mm.
place to have it now. When I was watching the Last Ride Pause on Vimeo, there was like a couple of comments from people that watched it saying like, you need to do this, or like this was good and this was bad, but thank you for uploading it. I'm just curious, like, since you said like it's kind of the world to you when you're making a short for the first time. So like, how have you dealt with criticism in your career?
I don't. I mean, like it depends on who it's coming from. You
Fair,
know what I
yes.
mean? It's like that's like the weird thing about like the internet. And I literally like it's so toxic, I think, like because anyone could be an expert, right? It's so easy to flip the camera front and like literally upload a video that's like, I'm an expert on film, and it's like, okay, what have you ever done? Like, why are you an expert on film? It's like my wife has a great quote where it's like, never take advice from someone whose life you don't envy. And it's like, I'm happy to take advice and like get guidance on like my filmmaking from someone who's better at it than me, but like I don't really care about criticism from people who like don't know what they're talking about. Like I don't know, like yeah, like feedback is important, but also it's like there's feedback can be like debilitating, and it's like I know people who are like, I don't send a script out until I get 50 reads, and then I do 12 rewrites, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about any of that. Like I literally like just wrote a script literally like an hour ago. I finished a script. Like I like it and I think it's good. And I sent it to my manager and I'm like, okay, let's send it to this production company. I'm like, and he's like, okay, great. Like it's like, I think people are so like trying to do things by committee and get all this feedback and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it is essential sometimes. And like, we did do that. Like we screened a cut of our movie for people and got feedback and then made changes. But like, I think it's all contextual and it's all like what you're looking for. And, yeah, it really depends on who the criticism is coming from.
No, I think that's a healthy appetite for it. I mean, one is hard to do. A short film's hard enough. I got an assignment that I agreed to do that was a 60-second one shot for a larger project.
Mhm.
And like the instructions I got were very difficult to sort of digest. And I guess this person had gotten feedback that other people were confused. So I was like, hey, at least it's not just me. But
Right.
even putting together like that single 60-second shot and like what I have to think about in terms of composition and what I can include and not include and what can I shoot for no money and all those things, like these are all like huge considerations, and it's like sapping my brain power just to do this 60 seconds. So don't sell yourself short on your accomplishments.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's very difficult and it's very, very, very time consuming. And I think that there's just sort of like a misconception that I think that people, because I think the goal is to make it look easy, right? Where it's
Well,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like the goal is to just like, oh yeah, here it is. Here's the film. It's like finished. And it's like, you don't you don't know what this person has gone through, where the 5 years it took to raise the money and the fights and everything. And it's like, well, no one really gives a shit. You don't get an asterisk next to your movie. You know what I mean? It's like, you just make it and hope that people like it. But yes, it's very, very, very arduous and difficult and expensive and time consuming. But it's exciting. It's like a chase.
Well, I think that's why I've been drawn to sort of doing more and more of these interviews is to sort of pull back the curtain and be like, yeah, let's get into the weeds of the actual sort of like mechanics and the struggles and the upside and the downside. And
Mm.
so considering, I don't know if this was the actual timetable. You said 5 years, but when did you start working on Don't Trip?
I think I had the idea in like 2021
Okay.
where I was like, okay, I'm gonna like stop this bullshit of like trying to write like a massive spec and like sell it to a studio and like go a different way of like, I'm gonna write a feature that's really small, raise the money and make it myself. Like I had that idea in 2021 and then I got like sidetracked a bit. I was like, I'm gonna write, and then I wrote another thing for the company, and then I was like, fuck this, I got to get back to it. And then I probably finished the script in like 22 and I think I launched the Kickstarter in like November 2022, and that was like really like once I launched the Kickstarter, it was like, okay, now we're going. Like we have the money, we need to raise more money, and it was really about setting a date. I was like, okay, August 1st, we're 2023, we're shooting this movie. Like, and once I like wrote that in the calendar and I told people about it, it's like, okay, fuck, now I have to actually raise the money and now I have to actually like go do this. So we shot the movie in August 2023, despite there were many obstacles that, the world didn't want us to. There was a double strike, a SAG strike, and a
Mm-hmm.
WGA strike. We had to get, even though our movie was, a $200,000 film, we had to get interim agreements and we had to do all these,
Mm.
things because we had SAG actors and wanted to honor that and, to do it correctly. And so, yeah, there were a lot of obstacles standing in the way here.
Yeah, that's like a massive challenge behind the scenes that a lot of people probably would not bring into consideration when, making a film during that time. And, I saw, I don't know if it was on the poster or maybe it was in like the little like press blurb that I saw, but it
Hmm.
said that Don't Trip is a fully independent production. So,
Yeah.
like, what does that mean in context?
Yeah. I mean, the term indie film gets thrown around a lot. Like the
Yeah.
definition is like people are like Marty Supreme, it's an indie movie, and it's like, I mean, because I guess technically it's not from one of the three major
Well,
studios. Well, it's
yeah.
like our movie is like a true indie where it's like all of the money is just from people, like there's no tax credit, there's no pre-sales, there's no anything. It's just like me begging people for money and then they have a piece of the film. So it's like the purest form of what an independent film can be, where it's just money pooled together from different sources of individuals. There's no banks, there's no groups involved, there's no like big giant investor or funds or anything like that. So yeah, we had no outside help from any like mini studio or anything like that. Like all the money came from just the people that we asked for money.
And how long did it take to actually sort of raise what you needed, or is it incremental where it's like, hey, maybe our goal was 200,000, but we got our first 50. That means we can shoot, the scenes 1 through 10 or something.
Yeah, we raised 120 grand on Kickstarter, and that
Wow.
was like that was a 30-day Kickstarter. So we had 30 days to raise to go from 0 to 100 grand, and then we ended up getting 120.
Wow.
And then yeah, it was amazing. I
That's
mean,
huge.
that took a lot of work. That took about 6 months of prep,
Mm.
of building out a team of producers, figuring out ways to ask people for money, and that itself was tons and tons and tons of work. Um, and then we got the 120, and then my producer's like, "Well, we need 200 if we really want to do this." I'm like, "Okay, we got to figure out a way to find another 80." So, that was like turned into me begging more people to sell off equity in the film, and piece by piece we got to 200 because we already sort of had the momentum of raising the 120, and then thankfully we had everything. We had 200 grand before we started shooting, and yeah, I think it would have been very difficult to be like, okay, we're gonna go raise more money, and it's like, I don't know. I just know people who like, even for shorts, they're like, yeah, I have this short I've been working on for 5 years, and we're still trying to like raise an extra $80,000 for this post sound mix. And I'm like, just finish it. I'm like, I like we just wanted a finished product by this date. Like literally, the movie was
Yeah.
finished by January 2024. Like the movie you see is, you know, so from shooting it in August 2023, completely finishing post, sound, color, everything done by January 2024. It's just that it took a long time to do all the festival submissions and then find a
Yeah.
distributor, get it actually on a streamer. Like that shit just takes forever and is soul crushing and very hard. Yeah.
But worth it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't fucking know. No, it is. It is. It's worth it. I don't know. It's a very tough landscape out there for independent films right now. True independent films, like ones that don't have a marketing budget and don't have, like the support that they need to find an audience. It's very, 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 very difficult. Even a movie that is free. Our movie is free. You don't have to pay for it, and it's still very, very difficult to get the amount of people that we want to watch it. But
Well, I would say that for people that are listening to this, it's a good movie. I enjoyed
oh,
it.
thank you,
I thought
thank
it
you.
was very funny. Like I said, I think the sort of industry specific stuff brought me a lot of joy to see that sort of depicted
Yeah.
in the sort of like this very dark tongue in cheek way that it is presented. But it looks like you filmed in and around the LA area a lot.
Mhm.
So what was it like actually shooting in LA? Because I know that a lot of productions have left and gone and, filmed elsewhere because it's cheaper. So like what was it like to actually make a movie in LA in 23?
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing is that we shot the whole movie in one location. Like, there's like everything we filmed was in this one giant house that we rented out for 11 days. And then we sort of like, you know, movie
No.
magicked our way to make it look like it was different locations. And then, we got like, we shot B-roll, but 98% of what we shot was at this one location that we just sort of turned into different sets, which was, very challenging, but it was also great. I mean, it wouldn't have, it would, there's no way that we would have been able to make the movie the way that we did if we didn't have this one location. Just because like, every day you add is just like it's just very complicated where it's like it's not just like, oh yeah, then we'll go shoot over here, and it's like, is it permitted, do we have parking for
Yeah.
trucks, like do we have it's like it's a very on a bigger movie you can do it, but like on our scale we just couldn't. Or maybe maybe I could have, but I just, the way that we were set up, it made the most sense to just do it in one location. And yeah.
Well, there's a scene that takes place outside. It's when Trip and Dev sort of first meet outside under the street
Yeah.
lights and there's parking there.
Yeah.
Like, was that actually filmed on like a street location
No,
or
that's
that's permitted, or did you get a fake street sign and put it in the ground and sort of
Yeah,
cheat your way
that's
around it?
so the driveway of the house. It
Mhm.
was a giant house, and it had like this like long driveway, and I was
Oh,
like,
perfect.
okay, I could cheat it where I'm like, I'll just park cars parallel, and then we got like one of those street signs and put it down, and then we rigged a street light to, to look like one of those orange street lights, and we it was completely faked. It's not real. Um,
Well, it looks good, and that's why I asked. So
Thank you. Yeah, we pulled it off.
you did. When watching last Ripe Haws and then moving to this, there's a little bit more of a subtle sense of humor in the short film
Mm,
because it's set in an environment where I don't know, the stakes are higher, so like it's not as comedy forward. And I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
a little bit of that still translates into Don't Trip, in that it's very intense in moments, obviously, and sort of like there's a looming tone of seriousness
Mm.
behind what's happening, but the actual writing of the dialogue and the humor is very pointed. So I'm curious, like, where did you get your comedy influences? Like, where did your writing style like develop from?
I mean, yeah, like I was mainly just writing comedy for a long time. I mean, like the whole like Last Right Pass thing, like I that was very much me trying to be like, no, I can do other shit and like I can make like a sci-fi thing. I probably like just saw like the new Blade Runner movie and I'm like, I can do that. And but no, I mean like I grew up on Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, like Will Ferrell, all that. You know, Judd Apatow grew up down the block from where I grew up, so that was like to me like oh like if he grew up in this small town and then he went on to Hollywood, I could do the same thing. So I was just like obsessed with him, and a lot of this movie was inspired by The Cable Guy. It's sort of like this
You
dark
know,
comedy vibe that is such a great performance from Jim Carrey. And a lot of that movie is just like, let's get out of the way and just let Jim Carrey do his thing. And that was, a little bit of how I felt about having Will on this movie, where I'm like, I just knew, I just knew he's a genius comedically. And I'm like, and I knew how to write for him. So I was
mm,
like, let's just like ISO on Will and like let him like go off in these scenarios. And like, I think it works a lot of the time because
does.
he is so fucking funny and brilliant. And yeah, I mean it was, but very very inspired by the Apatow shit and a lot of like Danny McBride, that kind of comedy that I'm probably just copying. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that leads me into sort of my next question, that a lot of the humor was coming from Tripp's character and a lot of like the crazy things that he would
Yeah.
say about like eating Dev's ass or his foreskin
Right.
reattachment or like this insane kind of stuff that he's
Yeah.
spouting. And I'm glad that you brought up Will because I wanted to talk about his performance in the film because, like, no joke, it's probably one of my favorite performances in all of 2025.
Oh, thank you.
He's so funny. And like, can you speak a little bit about, I know you said you sort of felt very comfortable like writing for him, but like, how did you sort of develop the character that he brings to the screen, and like how much of that did you just like put in his hands and get out of the way?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. Like I sort of knew Will. We like had mutual friends like through like the scene or whatever, and like we maybe met like once or twice, and then like I started to see his videos. Like he does that classic like the Timothy Chalamet strikeout video. I don't know if you've
Mm.
ever seen that. But yeah, he's just fucking hilarious, and like I just like knew his voice, like, and I was like starting to write this movie and like figuring out like who the character was, and like once I saw Will, I like put two and two together. And I'm like, he's the guy. Like he has to do it, or there's no movie, pretty much. And then I met with him, and I was like, I want to do a movie, and I want you to be in it. And he was like, yeah, sure. Like if you can actually do it, then yeah, he's like, I'll be in your fucking movie, like for sure. And then I wrote it, and he's like, oh, it's actually good. So, but but yeah, it was it I think that's like one of my skills where it's like if I can like really like learn someone's voice and like attach onto it, I can like really go off, and I just understood, I know his mannerisms, and like I can like craft it to that where it's like there is improv in the movie, but a lot of it is written, like those two things that you mentioned, like that was in the script, like a lot of it's in the script. And then but then there would obviously be times where I'm like, okay, like get to this point and then ad lib whatever you
Mm.
want at the end, like because he is really a brilliant writer also and like a brilliant comedian. So I'm like, why wouldn't we let him just go for it? And then there's stuff that landed in the movie that was a result of that. So there's a combination of those things.
Were you able to get what you need like in a reasonable amount of takes with him? Because like some of this stuff, I'm like, how do you like film that? And there's just like a no reaction on Matthew's part. Like I imagine like you kind of have to be like desensitized
Yeah,
in some
yeah,
of those
yeah.
situations, or else like you're gonna have to reshoot that.
Yeah, like we definitely were cracking up like once we cut, there really like there was like three things that like didn't work comedically, like to me at least, that we were like really going for, and like I could like I felt them bombing, and I'm like, okay, abandon, like let's just like move on. Because I'm like, that's how I feel about writing, where like if I'm writing something and like if I'm not laughing at it, then then the person reading it's not going to be laughing at it. And then
Mm.
I kind of felt the same way when we were making it, where I'm like, if I'm not laughing at this performance or this joke or this bit, then they're not going to be laughing at it. So like it really, it did elicit that reaction on set, and people were cracking up, and like there were a couple moments where like I was like fucking dying, and like I had to like leave the room, I think. And well, some of it is just like like I'm not even laughing at the bit, I'm like laughing at like not only is he saying this, but like we like went through all of this, we raised all the money, we have all these people here to get, and all these cameras and all this shit, so that he could like do this bit, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the funniest thing to me, and that like we're all here at 3 in the morning at this house in Woodland Hill so that Will can do the foreskin reattachment bit. and yeah, it's like the cosmic joke of it all. um but yeah, that is definitely a bit of a challenge, but we could, I mean, Matt is an unbelievable actor, and you know, he so disciplined and so like could change on a dime. And like there's a scene where he is like cold calling the guy, the
Hmm.
producer, and trying to like get him on the phone, and so much of that was like I just like wrote like a list of bits that like I had, and I was just literally like standing like 1 inch like off screen and just like reading him the bits, and he would just like perform them back, and like that was it. Like it's like he didn't have any prep for it, and like he could do it in like a different way, and I'm like, okay, faster, this, that, like say it as a question, like. And he just nailed it. Every like Matt is like unbelievable, and it's like it's hard to like play the straight man because Will is so over the
Yeah.
top, and then
Hmm.
for that to work, Matt has to be like down here. I'm like, so you, I'm like, because there are times where I'm like, just freeze. I'm like, just be frozen in fear from this guy, because like any, because you can't compete with like that level of like over the topness in a scene like that. So
No, that, I mean, I'm glad you pointed that out, because yeah, he has to play everything very straightforward, and
yeah,
there's no wiggle room because Trip is such an intense personality. Even when he's being friendly, it's almost like he still might just stab you for fun. And
yeah,
so like that's kind of like it makes every, like he's walking on eggshells the whole time, and it is a very sort of difficult balance. But as much as Trip is like a psycho, there are some moments where I felt bad for him.
yeah,
And I think that is intentional. So I wanted to know, like, when you're sort of planning out the character trajectory, obviously we start in this place where you're like, Dev is the guy that we're sort of like cheering for to have success. Like, we obviously know that his
yeah,
approach to using Will doesn't seem sort of like mean spirited, but like the more time they spend together, when that sort of moment comes where it turns upside down and it is like, oh, you're just using me, like I really feel bad for Trip in that moment. And so like when you were sort of plotting that entire character arc, like
yeah.
were you concerned that like that wasn't going to land, or that you couldn't recover from that and sort of bring Trip back to like, oh no, he is really like legitimately a psycho and a killer, and
Yeah.
you really shouldn't feel bad for him?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and it's like, to me, like the reason why the movie works. Where I think a lot of people or writer directors like write like movie that's about a writer, and it's like he's the coolest guy, and he gets chicks, and like he drinks and he's badass. Where I'm like, if I wrote a movie where the character is like some sort of version of myself, and he's like not a piece of shit, then like the movie's not going to work. Where it's like for this movie to work, like he needs to like be a bad guy. And that's what's interesting about it, is that like, he is in pursuit of this thing, and he thinks, he's all innocent, and he's just this young guy who's trying to get a script made or whatever. But it's like, he's doing kind of a mean thing.
Yeah.
He's tricking this guy into thinking that like they're best friends and sort of and really manipulating him, buying him gifts and letting him pay his rent and sort of buying into all this shit. And yeah, like I think that's the interesting thing about the story is that you're like he's actually worse than Trip because like at least Trip is like being authentic in his portrayal of who he is, which is a piece of shit,
Yeah.
but like that's who he is, you know what I mean? Where it's like Dev is completely inauthentic. He is not upfront about his intentions. He lies pretty much until, you know, three quarters through the movie about who he is. And yeah, I mean, I think that's like the interesting thing about the movie is that like some people have pointed out where they're like two of the most unlikable characters you could possibly have. And it's like, yeah, I think that was kind of the point.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to have unlikable characters,
Yeah, of
and
course.
like we want to. I mean, I want my human or my villains to sort of like be humanized, and I found it interesting because they sort of start at these two opposite places, and then they like sort of get closer together, and then their positions change, and then you really, as the audience, have to decide like, oh, I don't really know whose side I'm on, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of just like back on Dev's side, like via circumstance more than
Yeah.
anything. It's like, well, he's bad and he did a shitty thing, but I mean, I guess he's not killing anybody, so it's not
Right.
that
Right.
bad.
Right.
But yeah, very interesting character dynamic between the two of them. And when you had sent me the initial sort of email, it had said in I think it was Nepo Baby Nightmare movie or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like I was like waiting for that to happen, and then I was like, oh, now I understand like where
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
coming from. And so when I just kept thinking back to that, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like Trip in the sense that like he is his authentic self.
Yeah.
And up
Exactly.
until the very end, we don't know that he's actually a homicidal maniac. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't feel that bad for enjoying his time on screen. And when, you know, I think when you sent me the email originally, I watched it via the screener link
Mm.
that you
Hmm.
sent, but the movie's out on Tubi
To
now.
be.
So
Yeah.
can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what the process was like of sort of going through that phase of getting it to a streamer and like what that means to you?
It's very difficult. I wish it was just like a YouTube thing where you just had a portal and you could just
Mm,
upload your movie and that's it. But distribution for film is the complete opposite of like distribution of like social media content, where it's like if you want to get your movie distributed, there's 400 pages of paperwork that you need to sign off on. You need all these rights. You need 50 different codecs, files, subtitles, releases. All the music needs to be cleared. All the clips need to be cleared. Like it's very, very, very um, arduous and annoying. But I understand why. I think that those worlds are going to start crashing down. I think that like part of me, like we're grateful to be on Tubi, but also um it's confusing because it's like you don't really get access to the data. I don't know how many people have watched our movie. I don't know who's clicked on our movie. I don't get any of that information, which is kind of standard across the board in terms of streaming. But like when the model is um I only make as much money as the amount of people who watch it. It's not like a flat. It's not like, oh, Netflix gives us 50 grand if 100 people watch the movie or a billion people watch the movie. You know what I mean? Like that's the money you get. Where it's like the way it works on Tubi is like, no, you get paid per view. So
mm,
you would think like, oh, we need to be incentivized to drive viewership to the film. And it's like, I don't have the only data I have is from Letterboxd, if I know if someone logged the movie. And it's like there's so many people who don't use Letterboxd. There's people who
yeah.
discover the movie on Tubi who just watch it. And it's like, so it's good. I don't know. I think that in 5 years the conversation is going to be very different and that those walls are going to come down and that like there will be a hybrid between Tubi and YouTube where it's like or people are just going to be uploading their movies to YouTube because like at this point, what's the difference? It's like you can get ad revenue from a YouTube video, and
Yeah.
also like you don't need a distributor to upload to YouTube. You can literally just upload the file, and it's like you don't have to worry about all these things. And a lot of people are already doing it. But I I think there is like a stigma, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, it's a YouTube movie. It's like bullshit. It's just a YouTube video versus like, oh, you got on a streamer. Like it must be a legit movie. And it's like, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I've
But
seen some Tubi originals where I'm like, they obviously greenlit that. So, I mean, who knows? I
yeah,
honestly don't know how it translates. I know people love Tubi
yeah,
because it's still free and like it has great word of mouth and the
yeah.
accessibility is really good and they're better about their where they place their commercials during the
Yeah,
actual
they let
movie.
you choose where it can go, which is great. And what our movie is not a Tubi original. It's just we just license the movie to the streaming platform and we have like a revenue share deal. Like Tubi literally had nothing to do with making our movie, like had zero hand in it at all. It's just like, oh, like we got lucky in that Kickstarter was doing this program with Tubi where they were highlighting some films that raised money on Kickstarter and then putting them
Oh,
on the
that's cool.
platform. Yeah, which is great. And it gave us good placement on the platform. I think, you know, it kind of put us on like the front page for a little bit. So it helped people discover the movie, which is really nice. But again, it's like, I don't, I
Yeah,
don't
you have
know.
no metrics. You can't tell.
It's like, it's very tricky, you know, like, but that's kind of across the board. I've spoken to people who have shows on major streamers that have done massive numbers, but they don't really know the info. They're just told like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's doing well. So
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine as an independent filmmaker, I mean, you sort of are like course correcting and learning as you go with that kind of stuff. So you kind of it is valuable. It's invaluable to you to have like a better understanding of how many people watch the movie. Because I was going to ask you, like, what does Letterbox do for you as a filmmaker? And if that's the only way for you to track people interacting with it and having seen it, then that makes a lot more sense. But in terms of like, I guess the streaming model, I know sometimes stuff goes to like Tubi and then it'll end up on like Canopy or Hoopla, like the
yeah,
library services. So is there like an exclusivity window that happens
yeah.
with Tubi before that?
Well, it's I think everyone's deal is different. We
Mm,
signed like an exclusivity window so for a couple of months before we can go to a different platform. Um, to me, it's just about driving traffic, where it's like I would put the movie anywhere if we could get more eyeballs on it that I
yeah.
know for a fact. And it's like, I don't know. There's all these numbers that are thrown around, and it's like, what does that really mean? Where it's like, we have a newsletter that has 10,000 subscribers, and it's like, okay, like, what's the click rate? Like, do people actually like watch the movies from that? Like, what does that mean? Or it's like, and Tubi's like, we have 90 million subscribers. I'm like, okay, like, how many of them are gonna watch my movie? Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't, you know, you're just like kind of thrown these numbers, and it's like you have to really. I mean, that honestly, it's the Kickstarter doing that and fundraising that way. I learned so much about marketing and sales and like how you know people donate where it's like you know I think people think that like oh I'm gonna post it to social media and like everyone's gonna see it and they're gonna donate and it's like I would say 98% of the donations we got were not through social media were
Mm,
through us reaching out to people independently and asking them to donate and I learned that because I had to fail I had all these TikTokers posting about the movie and trying to raise money that way, and it just wasn't working because it's like it doesn't convert. The conversion rate is like 0.0001% of people who watch the content donate. Whereas like if I reach out to someone I know personally and ask them, there's like, of course they're gonna donate. Like, and if they don't, they're gonna share it or they don't. You know what I mean? Like it's there's a much higher percentage success rate from asking people, which is the reason why I'm talking to you right now, is because I found you and I reached out and I
you
asked
did.
you to watch our
Yeah.
movie. Where it's like if you saw an Instagram ad for our movie where it's like, what's the likelihood that you would have actually clicked it, watched the whole movie, reached out to the filmmaker and had a conversation? I'd say 0% because I see Instagram ads all the time for shit. And I'm like, I'm not watching that. Like, unless someone I know personally recommends a film, like very rarely, unless there is massive buzz, like you know, it's like PTA's new movie, like a level of buzz where it's like, okay, like that's
Yeah.
one, you know, that doesn't happen for indie films ever. There's so many indie films that like you know, it's very, very, very hard to get eyeballs on it. I think
Yeah.
that's the question.
Yeah, I think with social media too, it's tough because there are filmmakers that I've met and interviewed and like developed relationships with sort of more organically because like maybe they followed the page or I saw something from them that I followed them first and then we kind of like struck up a conversation that way.
Mm,
But yeah, the odds of sort of seeing it passively and then being like, okay, well, let me then like follow the movie page and find like who's connected to that page, and then like maybe it was somebody in production, maybe it's you. So it was fortuitous that you reached out to me, and I was like, well, like, watching and logging the movie on Letterbox is like maybe the very least that I can do. I was like,
right.
so yeah, come on and talk to me. I think it's better for both of us to have this conversation than it is to
Yeah.
just log the movie on
Oh,
Letterbox.
I'm very grateful that you saw it that way. There's a lot of people who don't see it that way and have told me to fuck off, which is fine, and that's part of the marketing process. But yeah, I don't know. I think you have to be very aggressive in your marketing and creative, and like I think people are like, "Oh, we'll get a billboard." And it's like, fuck is that going to do? It's not going to do anything. Like, or even posting. I mean, like posting is just, I think I looked it up the other day. There's 700 million videos that get uploaded to YouTube every day or some
Oh
shit.
my
Like,
God.
it's like you're drowning in content and you're competing with, Marty Supreme, and it's like like you're fighting an army. And I think that if you're not in the soup and you don't really know like how these things do, it's like, yeah, like A24 has an army of people doing this marketing push and like teams of publicists and scheduling and so much money. And it's like it's not a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like Honora didn't just like the Oscar didn't fall into Honora's lap.
No,
Like
it was very
they
coordinated. Yeah.
it's very coordinated. They spent close to $18 million to win that Oscar. And like, not to say that they didn't deserve it. They do deserve it. I love that movie. It's a great movie. But like when you talk about like marketing an indie film, it's like, yeah, like if we had $18 million to spend on marketing, and maybe if our movie was better, we could have gotten that. I don't know. But like, um, but yeah, it's very difficult now. And like I don't know. It's a weird time. I think that like it's so easy from an outsider's perspective to be like, oh, it's so exciting, and like, like it is exciting that like technology is there to like make your movie easier, but also it's very, very, very difficult to get paid to make your movie. Like I look at The Brutalist, like they won the fucking Oscar, and like I don't think that guy made a dime off the movie.
Mm.
Like subsequently he will make money because that movie was successful, but like is that the model that like you have to make a movie for 7 years and make $0? And it's like for every one brutalist, there's 7,000, people who made a movie that it doesn't get seen, and it doesn't make any money. And, because of streaming and the way that we're fed content, it's like very rarely do we pay for an individual piece of content. You know what I mean? It's like I get it where it's like, why would I pay $6 to watch a 90-minute movie when I pay $7 a month for Netflix for unlimited movies? It doesn't make any sense. It's like I think that streaming has sort of killed that, where it's like, yeah, sure, there's like hyper specialized like Blu-ray 4K shit and like, the physical media of it all, but it's very, very, very difficult to make money. Like for us to like make the money that we need to make, we have to get a lot of people to see the movie.
Yeah, and when I was going to ask you sort of about like how you track incremental growth, but if you're not actually seeing how many people are clicking on something like the Tubi link and watching the film that way, or if I mean, I don't know that Letterbox is necessarily going to be like a good one-to-one straight line comparison, but it gives you
Right.
something. Like the only way you're going to know next time is when you go to do a Kickstarter for the next thing, and it's like, is
Yeah.
there traction from the previous thing that we can actually like show as a measurable? And it is a very, very weird time in general to sort of be a filmmaker and be in the business with
Right.
the new acquisitions that have happened with paywalls going up on existing streaming services that weren't there before. There's a
Right.
huge sort of pivot to physical media, but I also think that's more for people that are maybe closer to my age that
Mm,
are kind of like the way that vinyl had a resurgence in
yes.
the last like decade or so, where it's like you want to have the physical thing because of the policing of streaming. But I think like the average person is probably not doing that, and so it
No.
it does become a little bit tricky. But did you have like a theatrical premiere for the movie where like you
No.
had maybe like friends, family, press come?
No.
No, that's a
Well, it's just
bummer.
it's a it's a topic of conversation that a lot of people are like, "Well, why didn't you do it?" Where it's like, uh, here's why we didn't do it. Because our marketing budget is $7,000.
Okay.
To do that kind of premiere in Los Angeles costs about $3,500.
Okay.
So the question is, do we want to spend
Yeah.
half of our marketing budget on this one night that will not generate any press and really do anything for our movie? But it is like a cool party, and we will like get some cool Instagram photos from it and like have this nice moment and do this cool thing. Um, I've done that for my film, The Bachelor. I spent like 2 grand, which is a quarter of the budget of the entire short film that I made, to have a premiere at Brain Dead Studios on Fairfax. And like, yeah, it was sick. And like, we got to like watch the movie with like my friends and like all this shit. But it's like, what happened from did any of the agents I email actually show up? Like, it's like, it's so to me, I'm like, I'd rather spend that money emailing people, getting them to watch the movie. I'm like, how do we get people to, like,
Yeah.
there's a better use of that money to me, and that's the reason why I've screened the
That's
movie
fair.
with friends and we watch it together at home. But like, um, the economics of doing a screening is just so expensive. Look, if someone wanted to pay for a premiere for us to do it, and like we were very close to doing that, we had a good deal, and we were going to do it like on the Sony lot. But I'm like,
Oh.
it's just so much money, and it's just not worth it to me. Also, I don't know. I just don't uh care. I don't.
Well, it's like, I mean, I think it is a serious, like, sort of return on investment consideration that you have to make. Like, if Sony was willing to foot the bill for you, you'd be
No,
like,
no.
hey,
Well, we had to rent the. That's a deal, and they were doing us a
yeah,
favor, and we had to still pay them. Like, if it was free and someone wanted to show our movie, then yeah, great, and like that's awesome. But yeah, my focus has mainly been on getting people via the internet to watch our movie, and trying to put all of our marketing budget towards that. And I just think that there's better ways to spend $3,500. And
that's fair. And it probably is honestly like a better strategic approach because the majority of the people that are going to watch the movie are going to watch it on the internet. So you might as
all of
well,
them,
yeah,
all of them.
you
Well,
might as well appeal to the people that are going to watch
there's
it.
no, I've never screened the movie on a theater screen. I've only
Mm,
seen it on a TV. And like, I don't know. I'm also not like a purist where I'm like, I watch movies on my phone all the time, which is some people are like, like, how could you do that? And I'm
blasphemy.
like, yeah. And I'm like, to me, streaming is like a gateway to like being a cinephile, where it's like, yeah, like the average person doesn't have access to the New Beverly or to the
Yeah.
Vista or any of these theater vidiots, like all they have is the internet. And like that's a really good way to discover these films. And it's like most people, yeah, like to watch like a Wong Kar-wai movie or whatever, like on their phone. And it's like then you sort of get into it, and then you upgrade, and then you find the cinema, and like, but it's just a jumping off point. And it's like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like,
I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere. I mean, I grew up
yeah,
watching like shitty copies of like VHS dubbed Godzilla movies, but I love
right.
Godzilla now. So
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It
we all got
evolves.
to start. I know a guy who took over a theater in Beverly Hills. It's the Lumiere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times, but I don't know if I've been there since he owned it. And him and I were in talks about doing like film club stuff. So because I
Wow.
know that you're in LA, I'll make sure that I keep you in mind. I need to follow up with him
Yeah.
'cause him and I were
Is that
talking.
the one on Wilshire?
Yeah, it's like next to like a Mercedes dealership or
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
I've been to a premiere at that theater. That theater's sick.
Yeah, I went to. I think it's like a two screen theater, but
There's
yeah,
one that's like massive though, right?
they have they usually go like pretty deep into sort of like the films that have left other theaters. So it's like if I want to see something that I missed when it like came to AMC for a week, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
they usually have a good run there. But he and I were talking about sort of like the theatrical model, and then with like this new news that had come out about of course, like the acquisition and that changing sort of theater models moving forward,
Yeah.
it reminded me that I wanted to like reach out to him and like talk to him about being in the theater business. So
Yeah, yeah.
I will keep that in mind.
Please.
But in terms of sort of strategic things and marketing, I know you said you took maybe like 6 months to plan out the Kickstarter and sort of approach that. And
Mhm.
so what I've seen from you subsequently after you emailed me and I started like looking at the Instagram accounts is like a very strategic and pointed rollout of the promotion of the film
Sure,
that I feel like
sure.
is this sort of maybe avant-garde is a very strong word, but it is a very, I think, intelligent way to approach the
Thank you.
marketing of the film in terms of like, oh, like here's the, you know, the best actor consideration or, you know, Tarantino's favorite film of the year, that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thing. And like you put a lot of thought and effort and application into the promotion of the film on social media. So was that something that was always in the cards from the very beginning, or was this something that sort of came together after the movie was finally finished?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always been the path is through social media and posting memes and, being very cheeky and like not taking ourselves too seriously and like, it's a very the film is sort of self-aware and like I'm a very self-aware person and I'm like, yeah, I know we're not going to get fucking nominated for an Oscar, so I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if we like made like a FYC, like a for your consideration sort of thing? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's funny because like I do it. So what you're referring to is like we made these like fake articles, right? Like where
Yes,
it's like
correct.
I would Photoshop it so it looks like Vanity Fair posted like
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg quits filmmaking after watching Don't Trip, calls all of his other movies fucking dog shit. And I posted that and it did really well. People really liked it. And some people were like, that's insane that Steven Spielberg said that. They're like, that's amazing. You got him to watch your movie. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, so yeah, I don't know. There's tactics there, but also it's just very difficult again because it's like, what is that? How do you convert? Or it's like, what does that mean? Like, it's like someone sees the meme, likes it. It's like, are they watching the movie? Or it's like, because I don't know. It's like for me, marketing is very hard. It's like because people are like, we're doing like an awareness campaign, and it's like, yeah, like if you're Under Armour or Nike or like a massive brand, you could do an awareness campaign. But it's like for what we're trying to do, I'm very much like I look at it from like a marketing standpoint of like we need to convert 10,000 people to watch our movie. And it's like, what's the best way to do that? And, memes are helpful because it's free. You know what I mean? It's cheap. It's easy. You could do it fast. You could replicate it and do it a lot. But also it's like, it's me and my producer Trevor, and like that's it. Like we don't have a team. It's like we're trying to make more content, but I mean, I'm sure you've done this where it's like you'll work really hard on a video, spend hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours on a one piece of content that like six people see, and you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, I think
Yeah,
it's like
that's it's always very
it
humbling.
yeah, and it's like it's kind of a scam where you're like, I think that we've all been told that like we can like post our way into success, and it's like there's way more people than that are trying to do that are not doing that. Where it's like, even if you get that one TikTok that gets 100,000 views, I'm like, okay, like, what does that do? You know what I mean? Like, to me, I'm like, I got to think outside the box here and like find people directly and get them to watch our movie. And I think that I've put a lot of emphasis on that method, and I've had way greater success through that. And again, it's the only reason that we're talking is because I found you, like,
Yeah. No, I mean, no, I appreciate that because a lot of the time, especially with social media stuff, is like all sort of people have set up like the like I don't know, it's like almost an automated like voicemail system where it's like as
mm,
soon as you follow the account, they're like, "Hey, blank name person, thanks for following the account. Like, make sure you follow my YouTube and this and that. And I'm like, why? You don't even like have a conversation. It's just straight into like promoting the other
Yeah.
thing. And so
Yeah.
it feels kind of cold. And I mean, like, cold calling has been a business for a long, long time. So it's not really like super surprising, but it's one of the things that I've sort of strayed away from when trying to like do that myself, is like, I would rather sort of respond to a comment authentically and just have it be real. Instagram recently added the thing where you can send things directly to friends. And I'm like, I never do that. I was like, I feel like it's almost an invasion of their like direct messages for me to just like send them my stuff in that way. And so I don't know, maybe I have to be less concerned with that. But like, to your point, I spend sometimes 10 hours making like a rip reel for what I'm doing a month for the show. And it's like, oh, we're doing like all Nick Cage movies. So I'm going to like pull clips from all the movies and I'm going to sequence them so they all like line up in the way that I want. So it's like, there's a ton of editing work. I'm picking the music to go with it. And then it's just like, it does nothing. But then if I like post a picture of Nicolas Cage screaming, it's like, oh, a lot of people like that. So, you know, I have to look at it as it's still maybe a good use of my time, but when my wife is sitting there, like, if I have to hear that goddamn song one more time as you're editing, she's like, I never want to hear that song again. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll put my headphones in. And then I show it to her and she's like, you spent 15 hours making this? And I'm like, hey, yes, I did. And I think it was a good use of time.
I get it 100%. Yeah, that's why I don't know. It's so tricky. And I think, you know, it's the reason why Zuckerberg's one of the richest people in the world, is because he has convinced us that this is the way forward, and it's the only way forward is by having like a big social media presence. When maybe, you know, I know there's plenty of filmmakers who are not on social media, and like it doesn't really matter. Like Damien Chazelle, not on social media, like, you know, like doesn't matter. Like I don't know.
Yeah, got ahead of the curve, Damien. Be happy.
Yeah, but like, I mean, to that point, like, it's like I signed with a manager for making this movie, and like he doesn't give a fuck about like how many Instagram followers I have. He's like, are you a good filmmaker? Can you write scripts? And like, let's work, you know? Like, it's like, I think that social media, and again, it's why Zuckerberg is so, you know, he's taken over the world, is because like it's this faux productivity thing where it's like, I got 375 people saw this thing, it must mean that, like, it must mean something, there's like a number there, like it must be, you know, that's my value, is this number. And it's like, when in reality it's like that, these numbers don't mean anything, it's all bullshit. It's like, I have people who have 10 million followers that reposted our movie and it did nothing. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like Letterboxd reposted our trailer and it's like, didn't do anything. Like, it's like our trailer got 500,000 views and it's like, okay, like it doesn't like, you know, like it doesn't always compute, you know. It's like, if your game is like content that it's like you have to be shoving it down people's throats. It's like, look at Marty Supreme. It's like, if you go to their Instagram, it's like 900 things they're posting a day. They have different activations. They have different, like, it's like the volume in which you would need to be working in order for that strategy to work is way beyond what one human being could possibly output. So it's like, yeah, like I think there needs to be a different strategy for indie filmmakers.
Yeah. And I think just, you know, everybody that's going to be on Instagram that is making things needs to like sort of set their own waterline for progression, because, you know, it's, you can look at it like a competition, but that's going to sort of like be a very daunting task. And don't let one guy who's got no friends convince all of us that these friends that we never talk to online are worth it. I mean, there's definitely like good interactions to be had on social media, but like, don't put all of like your stock in how many views you get.
I would put none of it. I think it's so toxic, and I think it's so sad. Not to like get like dark, but it just bums me out. It's like a real like flattening of our existence. You know what I mean? To just be like, here it is. Like, here's your profile. You know what I mean? These are your posts and this is what you're worth. Like, here's your followers. And like, it's just makes me feel sick. Like, that's how I feel after like looking at like Instagram and TikTok for hours. I feel sick after looking at it, because I'm like, also it's like, it's not normal. It's not normal to consume 10,000 pieces of content a day. Like, it's like your brain is not wired to handle something like that. To like you would like like, 20 years ago, if you watch like an hour of TV and it's like, okay, you'd watch what, 3 shows in an hour and like that's it. And it was like, that's all the content you consume for the day. Where now it's like, how many fucking videos are you seeing in a day? It's like you could, if you're on TikTok for an hour, you could see like a beheading video. You know what I mean? Like it's like that you didn't ask for. You didn't ask to see these things. And like the human brain is not wired to consume that, and mine isn't. I can't handle it. I delete, like, the app is not on my phone. I can't look at it. Like if I need to post something for the movie, like I just schedule it, and like I just can't look at it because it makes me physically ill to be on these apps. So
I mean, I get it. I see so many people that I know who are like people like on Twitter where I'm like, I'm genuinely concerned about like the mental health of people that I know from
oh
this. And because I know what
yeah,
it does to me, and I set time limits for myself. So that way, when it's like I've hit a certain amount of time, it cuts me off. And then it's usually like a little bit later in the day. I'm like, crap, I have to like post the video. So let me like extend the time limit for a little bit. But yeah, I think it's been a much healthier approach for me to like just have an off switch that I don't control that tells me like, all right, this is too much for you in one day, sir.
yeah. I have this app on my computer called Self Control that's like, it literally like blocks a list of websites from accessing my IP address.
Oh, nice.
So like and it sets like a timer for like 3 hours, and it's like you can't access Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Deadline, Letterbox. Like I have like a list, and it's like literally, it's because it's so pathetic. It's like I'm so wired to be like, okay, like it's just sad, but yeah, it's there's nothing good on there. It's a marketing tool at best, and at worst, it's like a fucking cesspool of the worst people in the world.
Inching our way towards that Black Mirror reality where what was it, like not the 500 million merits one, but the one where everybody gets like star ratings for their
Oh
existence. Yeah.
God,
uh,
disgusting.
well, let's get back to the film and end on a
Sorry,
positive note. It's okay. No,
sorry.
it's okay. When you look at the film like as a finished work, given the fact that you do have to sort of go through a lot of the motions with social media and advertising and
Yeah,
doing a lot of things that I think we can both agree are not things that like you really want to spend your time doing. Like
yeah.
when people do watch the movie, like what do you want them to take away from their experience watching the movie? Or do you just kind of like want audiences to decide on their own?
Yeah, I mean, I just want them to engage with it. Like I want them to just watch it. Like if someone, I think like the best case scenario is that this is not like a piece of like second screen entertainment, because like I know that everyone's watching this at home and their phone is on their lap, and it's very very hard, especially with something that has ad breaks, to not be on your phone. But like if people can just engage with it and just laugh, like it's a comedy. Like I want people to watch it and have fun and just turn your brain off for 93 minutes and watch the movie, and that's it. Like I don't, I there are people who have like written like think pieces on it, and like that's insane,
Really
and like these
interesting.
all like like crazy like blog like letterbox review shit, and like it's I just want people to like just watch it. I don't know. I feel like we don't have a wide enough audience to be like, what do I want people to like take from this? It's like I just want people to watch it, and please just tell your friends to watch it also, because I think it's just a fun 93-minute movie, and we worked very very hard on it, and I think it's worth your time. Hopefully,
I mean, it was worth my time, and I think the more people that watch it, the more word of mouth will get around, at least within
yeah,
like fans of sort of like the film circles online. And I do
yes.
want to read this philosophical think piece on putting
Oh,
your entire body up somebody's butt and wearing you like a mecha suit, because I mean, look, a lot of the dialogue like that I think is hilarious. It
oh, thank
it,
you.
it does its job very well, but my favorite joke maybe in the movie is one that is way more subtle than that.
Mm.
It's the one I think Trip is telling him of all the drugs that he's done in his life, nothing has fucked him up more than Advil, cold, and sinus. And I
That's
was
really
like, no,
funny.
that takes somebody who knows how dangerous Advil, cold, and sinus is to write that joke. And
That's
I
really
really
funny.
appreciated that one.
I think that was improv. I think that's a well said original. That's really funny. That's great.
Well, what is next for you? Because I saw if I am correct, I saw something that's in post-production. So are you at liberty to discuss that?
Oh, I think that was like some sketch I did a while ago, and they're like figuring that out. I'm trying to get the next movie made. I wrote, I literally just before this call finished a pilot that I'm working on with a friend who actually is really big on social media and has done really well.
Okay.
I wrote a pilot with him, and then I wrote another pilot, and I'm sort of just trying to bash my head through the door of the traditional Hollywood way of working with production companies and studios, and it's slowly happening, and I'm making these connections, and yeah, things are going well. It's just going to take time, but I am using this film as a calling card, and it's working. People are excited about it, and it's enabled me to meet with people I never in a million years would have been able to meet with without the film. So
Well, that's great, man. And it sounds like you have a good manager who just wants you to like do the thing that you do well and isn't really concerned
yes,
with a lot of the other stuff. So that's a great sort of
yes,
it's a
very
great
lucky.
stepping stone to have. Where can people find you? Where can they find the movie? I know it's on Tubi. Is it on anywhere else yet?
For now, it's just on Tubi. It will be on other places. I want to get it on that like letterbox video rental
Hmm.
store. We're trying to figure that out. But yeah, for now, Tubi is the best way to watch it because it's free. And you can find me on Instagram. I think it's just Alex. I think it's just my name, Alex Kugleman. I should probably know that. Let me see.
I'm pretty sure that it is. And worst case scenario, I do have it, so I'm just gonna grab the
It's my
copy.
name, Alex underscore Kugelman. There we go. Really, real original.
Yeah. Well, whoever's listening to this, it's going to be in the show notes. So you just click a button, and just tap
Oh,
the screen,
great.
whatever. You don't even have to worry about spelling it out.
Yeah.
But I want to say thank you. This was a lot of
Thank
fun
you.
getting to sit
Yeah.
down and chat with you and pick your brain a little bit. Yeah, maybe in the future we can do this again if you when you get your next project greenlit, or if you have a bad movie that you really love and you want to come
I
on and do the full workup of the show the way that I
wow.
always do it. That's a whole new adventure.
Wow, that's very tempting. There's a lot of bad movies I love. But thank you, Nick. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat, and yeah, this has been great.
My pleasure, man. Well, best of luck with the future. And if you're listening to this, go watch Don't Trip. You can do it from the comfort of your couch. You can do it on your phone, do
Yeah,
it
I
on a
don't care.
tablet, very
On
easily
your
accessible
on your
on Tubi.
toilet, I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't sit on the toilet for 90 minutes. It's probably bad for your health, but you
Yeah,
can
that's
watch it in
bad.
the bathroom.
Yes. On that note, thank you.
All right. Take care, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this spotlight session right here on Bad Movies We Love. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow the show, leave us a review, and share it with your fellow movie lovers. A big thanks to Alex for coming on the show and taking the time not just to talk about his movie, but to share some of his experience, some of his wisdom with us, and to give us a peek behind the curtain in terms of what it takes to make a fully independent feature film in the modern world. And since you made it this far, make sure you check out Don't Trip, which is currently streaming on Tubi, so you can watch it for free. And then when you're done, head over to Letterboxd if you got Letterboxd and log it on there. That way Alex can see it. Maybe you'll talk to Alex on Letterboxd. Links for that will be up in the show notes. And while you're there, make sure you check out the rest of the Scheist Podcast Network at scheistpodnet.captivate.fm. We've got some news on deck for you in 2026. And until next time, stay curious and take care.